I needed a community. And just by looking at your program or WarriorBabe and then others, there was something different. It was all about the women and women empowering women.
And do you feel like you made the right decision for
Oh,
yourself?
absolutely. Absolutely. So now I have to sell it into my husband type thing. And so I did a pros and cons list. I did a little, yeah, here I have it right here.
Oh, no
Now,
way.
here are the pros and here are the cons.
There's one
There's
con.
one con, but I turned it into a positive.
Hey everyone. So today, really excited for this story with Warrior Babe Beth. For years, Beth put everyone first, her career, her children, her responsibilities. But after retiring, she found herself at a crossroads. She wanted more than just to stay active. She wanted to transform. She wanted to see what her body was capable of, and to step fully into that next chapter of her life. And since joining Warrior Babe, she's not only lost weight, but she's built strength. I mean, you guys can see if you're watching this through video, her arms look incredible. But she's also found purpose, she's found confidence, and she's found a renewed passion for fitness and nutrition. And now she's thriving, and she's proving that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. And we both hope that her story today helps just one of you listening to it. So we're going to dive into it. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Nikki. Glad to be here.
And for the listeners, can you just share like a little bit about you, high level? Where are you from? What do you do for work? And how old you are?
My name is Beth. I'm married and I have three children, two of my own and one stepson. And I have a son and a daughter. And they're all adult grown children, 28, 29, and 30. So it's a fun time of their lives, just to sit back and watch them grow. I'm outside of Chicago area, so enjoying this blistery cold rain, sleet, whatever you want to call it, for work. So while I am retired, as Nikki mentioned, I retired last July. I actually, as my children so eloquently said, "Mom, you'll never last." So sure enough, 5 months into it, I said, you know what? I'm I really need to do something. And I always said I would work in the back room, like stock room, do retail somewhere where I can get credit or make money and spend it right there. And so I started working with Athleta after being very persistent, and but they were hiring me for seasonal. And after that, they said, well, we're just looking for seasonal right now. So I must have passed the test because they hired me as a core team member now. So I'm working now. So I work both in the back of house, as they call it, and then on the floor too. And I love it. I love it because it's the women coming in looking for that outfit that's going to inspire them. It's the lay your outfit out the night before, so you're getting inspired to get up and go work out. So that's it's my passion that I'm evolving over time here in the short period of time I've started.
Oh, that's so cool. It's so cool how you've gone on your fitness journey and now you're working with Athleta and then you're being able to inspire women that come through the doors every single day. I think that's pretty awesome too. I know that you had mentioned in the form that I was reading, you were like you were going to ask yourself if the things didn't check the boxes during your retirement, why am I doing this?
Right, right, right. So my three pillars, people would ask me what I was going to do when I retired. And I was like, I didn't know I had to have a plan. I knew I had to have a financial plan, but anything else. So I said it had to check one of the boxes, family, fitness, or fun. And if it didn't check any of those boxes, it was just like, why am I doing this? And so family includes all my friends, all my communities and stuff like that too, that I reach out to.
That's so cool. And you spent 40 years in corporate. What did you do during your corporate years?
I was in market research.
Oh, cool.
So did market research, started way back in the day when we had telephone interviewing and you had pen and paper all the way to I ended my career with a nutrition ingredient company. They were based out of London, but I was working here out of my home in Chicago. It was worldwide. I've always been in some sort of healthcare or nutrition type company. And I also work for Abbott Nutrition. So I know a lot about, had many colleagues that were dietitians, and so I knew all about nutrition. Did I put it into play as I should? probably not so much, and we can talk a little bit about that. But yeah, it's been a very rewarding career, but it was like time to say, okay, I'm done making those big decisions and whatnot, and I want to take time for myself and do something for myself now.
Well, let's go into that story. What was your situation like before Warrior Babe?
Well, I loved my workout classes, and so I would take maybe 5 different types of classes at a local gym, doing yoga, full body strength, and so it was just whatever kind of got me out of the house and kind of connected me with a community. But last year when I turned 60, so over a year ago, in January. So I turned 60 in December. In January, so over a year ago, or just about a year ago, I was going to yoga class and I bent over to grab my shoe, put my shoe on. I got a little tweak in my back and I went, oh, okay. Well, I'm going to yoga, so I'll go stretch it out, right? Get to class, everything's okay. But then we were doing something that just kind of irritated it even more. And as the hours went on later that day and then the next day and stuff like that, it got so bad that I couldn't sit down. And once I sat down, I couldn't get up out of the couch, as an example. So my daughter and my husband had to like heave me up to stand up. And then I had a really hard time walking. And I'm like going, is this what 60 is all about? And I'm like going, something's wrong here. And so, got the medications, of course, and all that stuff, got better, but started then from scratch in my fitness classes where I wasn't lifting any weight. I was doing all kind of body weight and kind of going through the motions. Went to a physical therapist who got me, the back strengthening exercise and stuff like that. And then I just said, okay, let's just take it easy. Let's kind of just go through this. And everything seemed fine. So then came, like later in the year, it was in July, and that's when I had retired, and I was like, okay, I'm going to travel and we had a lot of family activities, and so we did some traveling and stuff like that. And then when that was over, I was just like, okay, now what do I do? And I was just like, I'm missing that sense of community. And so I started to look online at various things and just to say, oh, what's out there. And, after seeing a few videos and like Instagram, which I was totally shut down on social media starting in 2020. And it then slowly kind of went back, but I was always on Instagram. And I was just like, oh, well, here's something. And I was just like, it's something for me to do for myself. I was like looking at it and say, well, what is this? And it was you, Nikki. It was WarriorBabe. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me look into this. So as a background, as a market researcher and really understanding kind of like, I need to do some research here and see what's going on. I did some, and I was listening to all the videos, the testimonials, read a lot, and I'm like, there's something here.
That's super cool. I love that you, being so skilled with that background, had that trust in our program at that time to say, hey, there's something here. There's 2 things that I want to unpack with that story that you just shared. One being when you had your back go out on you, when dealing with that time, because a lot of women are like, oh, this is just 60, or, this is just what life is like post-menopause, or this is just like, well, now I have to accept what my health is going to kind of like go downhill as I continue to get older. How did dealing with that point of your life with the back going out, like what struggles were you feeling both physically and mentally?
I was like, I can't give up my fitness or working out or whatever, because it's just like that's kind of what I had, and that was my release for a long stressful day or something like that. And it's just like, so what do I do? I mean, where does this leave me? And that's where it's like, I kind of felt like I just had to take things into my own hands slowly, not try to push myself to get back into anything. But it was just like, I'm not going to give up. One thing that did happen though, about 2 weeks ago, I was doing my workout, and it's been a year since my back went out. And I kind of like, Lauren and I talk about this a lot as far as lifting and being able to do some of the exercises as far as the is it putting more pressure on my back versus, being able to do stuff with my legs and my arms? And we work through that regularly. And just how do you lift heavily? How do you do the progressive overload without injuring or re-injuring myself? Well, I was having a great workout, and it was my last set, and I was doing cable pull-throughs, and I went down just to bend over to grab the cable, and then all of a sudden I felt something across the bottom of my back, and I'm like, and I sat down right away. Luckily, I was close enough to the ground, and I'm like, oh no, this was my worst fear, that this was, here we go again. And lo and behold, I recovered. I said, okay, I'm not going to do heat because that's the first thing I did last time. I did only heat because it just felt, warm and comfortable. I understand it's probably the worst thing I could have done. I did ice right away. So I did ice for about 48 to 72 hours. And then I was talking to Lauren about it, what else I should do. But I'm fine. I was just like, and so I took that time to kind of reflect on why the recovery was so fast. And I said, number one, my nutrition is totally different than it's ever been. Mm-hmm. And I do believe, and then I just listened to your podcast again about, it was like 202 or something, episode 202, 205, about recovery. And I do believe it's my nutrition's a lot better, but I also had a different mindset about it. So back in the day, it was just like, what do I do? I'm kind of lost. Now it's like, I know what to do. Let's go do it.
That's very powerful to have that education, knowledge, and understanding,
Yep.
awareness on the situation now. You mentioned earlier you've been in the field of nutrition, and dietetics and like that space, yet you weren't someone that really applied what you may have been surrounded by. So can you help us understand, like, where was your nutrition at before? Because there's definitely women, right? Like, that not eating enough and not getting enough protein. What was your story like with nutrition beforehand?
That was me. I knew, as far as that, for whatever reason, it was just kind of like lower calorie. I had my routine in the morning, whether I was sitting, going into work or sitting behind the desk here. And it was I probably was doing intermittent fasting before it was a real thing. Because it's like, I'm not a morning person. I don't eat breakfast and so on. And so it was I'd get and I'm not a coffee drinker. So I would get my, energy drink. I would have my water, and then at lunchtime I would have like soup or maybe yogurt or something like that, and then I would have kind of like a regular dinner. And I know my children were saying, "Mom, you need to eat more." It's like, no, I'm fine. It's good. And so but growing up in the nutrition area, I was familiar with, and we had brands like Zone Perfect and EAS. So with Zone Perfect and Zone Perfect Diet from way back in the day, the 40, 30, 30, I knew that. I never applied it. And now when I got my macros, when I first started, I was just like looking at putting everything in my fitness pal, and I went, oh, well, here we are, 40, 30, 30. I'm finally doing it.
Just a couple years later. I'm curious, why didn't you apply it back then?
You know what, as far as tracking, I tracked, but not like on an app. We didn't have apps back then. We didn't have phones back then. Right. I did Weight Watchers, and that's a whole nother story. But it was I think it was the getting me to count calories was probably enough. I said, I'm not going to count, fat grams and carbohydrates and protein. It's just like, keep it simple. I'm all about, no matter what part of my life, keep it simple. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what it was, is like, if I can count number of calories, I'm good. And so then I just kept it low. But little did I know that when I said, you know what, I'm not going to be drinking milk anymore. I really don't need milk. Don't need cheese. That's just extra calories and all that. Well, I believe that the lower calcium that that was missing in my diet kind of didn't pay off really well for me. I have osteopenia now. I am hoping to be able to reverse that. So we'll see. Early markers show that there's some positive movement. But it's, they do, that's the test that they do like once every 2 years. So I'm excited to see how that improves. But yeah, it's the low calorie, not enough protein.
And you mentioned that you did Weight Watchers too. What other thing, like, and you probably were doing intermittent fasting before intermittent fasting came out. Was there any other like diets or things that you did growing up in the day?
In college, there was the Dolly Parton diet.
Oh, what did that consist of?
Um, One day you would eat bananas, another day you would eat brown rice. I don't know, it was like
What?
7 days, just really weird stuff.
Oh my
um,
goodness.
and there's the Cambridge diet. So that was kind of like, that was powders, and you even had a soup that was a powder, and then you mix stuff, and it was just, we were really creative when we were in college. We were smart.
Sounds like it. Uh, okay, so another bucket that I wanted to navigate down with you before we dive into you taking the leap with Warrior Babe is the fact that you mentioned when I was reading through the form was like you feeling guilty about prioritizing yourself. How did that affect your confidence in your own personal self-care before? Because you had kids, you had work, like family responsibilities. There's someone struggling too as well. Like I can't put myself first. I don't have the time in the day. So how did that affect you?
I worked out really, really early in the morning before they got up. And typically, when they were young, it was like the home gym, which consisted of a treadmill and a couple weights. But it was spending my day or their waking hours with them, getting them to their activities and all that. And you know what? I love being a mom, and so there were times, and I would say the most time that I ever really felt guilty was when I was doing things. I did a couple triathlons, sprint distance triathlons, and it was the training for that. And when I was training, I felt guilty that I wasn't with them, and when I was with them, I felt guilty that I wasn't training. And so it was just kind of like that, the balance. What's the balance? Bless their hearts, they were like, come on, Mom, you go for your run and I'll ride the bike. And
Aww.
then they're like, and so we would like go to the pool, I remember. And so they go, can you carry our towels though? I'm like, I'm really.
Aw.
Yeah,
That's sweet.
but they were very supportive. So it was more self-imposed, guilt.
Sure.
So
Sure, sure. Okay, so let's navigate towards you. What made you take the leap into Warrior Babe?
it was I needed a community. So it was the missing the community. I'd have through work, while we were just online, primarily in remote. My team was all over the world, and even though it was still kind of face to face, even though we were on Teams meetings. But that went away, and I'm like, oh, I need something more. And just by looking at your program or Warrior Babe and then others, there was something different. It was all about the women and women empowering women. It was about not only fitness, but it was nutrition. And then it was, the whole, it felt very different to me when I was reading things did compare it to other programs. I interviewed with others too. And I'm just like, okay, number one, they didn't show up on time on the call.
Oh no.
And I was just like, okay, am I important to you or not type thing. And then, but it was just other things. And it was just like, okay. And it was more kind of like the high pressure sales. And I was just like, I don't need that. I'm kind of a pushover when it comes to any of the stuff, but I was just like, I need to make sure I'm making the right decision for myself.
Of course. And do you feel like you made the right decision for
Oh,
yourself?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I when I did the homework, and then I was just like, okay, so now, I have to sell it into my husband type thing. And so I did a pros and cons list. I did a little, yeah, I have it right here.
Oh no
Now,
way.
here are the pros and here are the cons.
There's one con.
There's one con, but I turned it into a positive.
Oh, That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and so it was the more holistic approach. It was something I was looking for.
Do you
I
mind
like
share? Do you mind really quick, like noting what those pros were and then what your one
sure,
con
sure,
was?
sure. So it was a holistic approach: nutrition, fitness, and mindset. It's individualize and customize. The hormone panel analysis, that was something that my daughter had been talking about, and I was just like, yeah, I know we have hormones and stuff like that, but what's all this? And she was doing it prior to, and I'm like, okay, so this is probably something I need to look into. I've been long gone through menopause and everything, so anything that when we talk about menopause, I'm like, that's not for me. However, I do learn more stuff for it, and I still have hot flashes. So it's just like, okay, I think it's one of those things I feel like I just deal with it.
Hmm.
But it was very intriguing because it's like, I think I need to know more about this and learn more about it. And then the goal is to hopefully, if it's at all medically possible, to reverse my osteopenia. I loved it because it was coached by women for women 40 plus. And that I was going to be assigned a personal coach. There was weekly interaction with that at minimum. There was a sense of community, the bi-weekly meetings, the weekly community calls. And it felt very exclusive to me, to women who wanted to take it to the next level. And I think I may have picked that up to something. And I said, I think that's what I need a challenge. Like I could go to classes and I could try to figure out nutrition, but I needed to take it to the next level. I needed someone to help me with that. The ongoing education was huge, and I talked to the advisor about that too. And then I started to see all your podcasts and the number of hours of podcasts that I've logged.
Yay.
Yeah. And I said, it's an investment in my future, whether it's health or fitness, and then potentially a career, because it's just like I've kind of dabbled in nutrition and I've dabbled in fitness, but I haven't made it a career. Now at 60, do I want a whole new career? I don't know, maybe.
I love that mindset though.
Yeah.
It's like if you're not doing something, waking up every day feeling fulfilled, might as well go look and see what will fulfill me, whether it is a whole new career, which is super cool.
Right, 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 right. And you want to know the con that they turned
Yeah.
into a positive?
Yeah.
I said it's a huge investment, but I'm worth it.
That is a great way to turn it into a positive.
Yeah, and that's where I just came down to it. It's just um, it's time for me to do something for myself. The
Hmm.
kids are gone. They're well on their own. They're fine. But I need to find something to do for me and
Yeah.
keep me busy.
So what were your thoughts as you started your journey with Warrior Babe from, talking to the enrollment advisor, then talking to your talent success manager, or talking to the customer service rep that brought you to your coach? Well, and then from going into your nutrition and workouts, like what were your thoughts during that first period of time?
It was interesting because it was definitely a two-way street. Nothing was being told that I have to do this. We say that for Lauren and or my coach, but no, up front it was um, um, the advisor. I don't know who interviewed more, if she asked me more questions or I asked her more questions.
I could see that.
And it was she was saying, we want to make sure you're a good fit for us. And I'm like, I think I really appreciate that. I
Hmm.
think I don't know. I mean, I don't know if all people think that, but it was just like, okay, yeah. And I want to make sure you're a good fit for me. And we talked about so many things, and a lot of it was the education. But I also asked the questions as far as I have this coach, and how often am I going to see my coach, and all that stuff. And so she was able to kind of like, um, I would say I was somewhat skeptical still, as just as far as what am I getting into. But she answered all my questions. And so I was okay, great. And then when I was getting set up with the coach, so I did go through all the coaches, and I was like, I had a whole list. I'm like, going, well, here's another one. Well, here's another one. And I love it because, and I think that was the biggest thing is, in the industry, you have personal trainers and you have registered dietitians.
Mm-hmm.
You have very few, like just in mainstream, that are doing both.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, this is the golden ticket. Because if I, I'm reading through all their bios and stuff like that, and then those that focus on, perimenopause, premenopause, and all that, or the elderly, or just whatever. There are certain specialties, and it was just like, okay, okay. I had a hard time picking, and then she had a couple names to me too, and so we did. We came to an agreement as far as who we thought would be best.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lauren came on board, and I met Lauren and stuff like that, and then it was the time, basically, where I'm like, okay, I'm done vetting this. I need to now sit back and listen to what Lauren has to say and what she's going to have me do. And it's like, for me, it's just like, just tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. And,
That's
and,
the
and the rest is history, a short history. It's been only 6 months now, but I tell her, it's just like, this is just so much fun. You're just like, I'm just having so much fun.
That's amazing. I love to hear that you're having fun, and I love to hear from speaking what you said earlier about the buckets, family, fitness, and fun. What are your buckets, right? Fun is getting fulfilled right now, which is super cool. Were you nervous about, like, I saw you doubled your nutrition increase. Like, were you
Yeah.
were you nervous about that? Like, what were your thoughts there?
I wasn't, because I knew I needed to do it. I would say I got more nervous, and I started to lose weight then too, and I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't expect this, but I don't think I got nervous until this last time when she increased me to, I'm at 2,100 calories plus 2,173 or something, and it wasn't until then where I was logging a meal, and I'm like, gosh, I'm kind of low on protein. What am I going to get? What am I going to get? And then I get a message come through from Lauren saying, we're going to raise your macros. And I'm like, no.
Oh no, no, you got to go back to the drawing board.
Yeah, yeah, no, but I am at, where am I at here? 163 grams of protein. I was just like, that's crazy. And I'm still losing too. I'm not losing rapidly, or I'm kind of like just waffling around. So it's
Okay,
been
so
about
you're
10 pounds.
10 pounds total since starting.
Yeah.
So you look relatively right, like fit. Were you overweight beforehand, or was it more so you just had like 5-10 pounds to lose?
It was the whole, if I could just lose these 10 last pounds type thing. But it was
Yeah,
that, probably the whole skinny fat that you talk about. It
absolutely.
was definitely not in the right area. And yeah, so I can tell that from the standpoint of losing the fat. And that was a huge learning for me, is just really understanding the difference between weight loss and fat loss, and the distinction, and how clear that is. But I tell you, it's not, I was just had a conversation with my husband the other day. I was like, the industry, and me coming from that industry, needs to be more specific. Is it weight loss? Because people don't need to lose weight, because they're going to lose their muscle. And I think as far as that's what gets us women in trouble, is losing weight. No, we don't want to lose weight. We want to lose the
Preach.
fat.
Yeah, a lot of people are so hung up on the scale and what the number says, and then they get discouraged if it goes up, or they get happy if it goes down, and vice versa. But if a woman like you who wants to lose fat, because we have a lot of women who come to Warrior Babe and like, oh, I just want to lose the next 5 to 10 pounds, and they don't see the value of what we can offer them, because they're like, oh, I can do it. It's just 5 or 10 pounds. But I think it's really cool hearing your story, by realizing like you wanted to go to the next level, and you saw the opportunity with us to be able to go to the next level, because you have the mindset of like, hey, just tell me what to do and I'm going to do it. And then along the way, you recognize what the difference is between the two, because even though you lost 10 pounds, you decreased the body fat, which
Mhm.
probably made your muscles look more defined in that aspect. Whereas, like, if someone doesn't understand that, they're going to just focus on seeing the scale go down and down and down, and it's going to detriment their results because they're going to lose muscle along the way.
Right.
So eating 163 grams of protein is the reason why those muscles are popping out. How are your carbs at now?
We're at 218.
This is music to my ears for being 61 years old and eating 2,100 calories and having 218 in carbs. Like,
Yep.
does that blow your mind looking back and, maybe 10 years, 50 years old? And did you think this was possible?
For me, I wanted to do it, but I was just like, it was always I wonder if I could ever look like that. So it's like whether looking at athletes or dancers, my daughter's a professional dancer, so I've seen a lot of dancers, and it's just like the human body is a beautiful work of art, and it's just like, what can we do with that? And it's just, it was like, I wonder, it's more of a curiosity. I wonder if I can get there. It's like, did I think I could do it? I don't know, because I guess I never really tried to do it. But now I'm really intentionally trying to do it. And then, we'll see. I had mentioned to you as the whole, my interest in weightlifting started way back when I was living in Columbus, Ohio. They had the Arnold. And I had to do little events because I missed competing. I grew up being in sports and competition and stuff like that. And so I was just like, well, if I could just do a 5K, but I hated running. And so, but it was something I could work for and it kept me active. Well, the Arnold had this, what they call the pump and run, where you lift so much. It's a certain, for women, it's a certain percentage of their body weight. You lift that and you can lift up to 30 reps, or you get, and then you get time taken off your final run. And I said, well, that's the only way I'm going to get a good run time is if I could lift weights. Well, then I was actually kind of starving myself to get my body weight down and then trying to lift. And it's just like, that was a terrible mixture. It didn't do me any good. It was just like, well, yeah, don't need that. So I don't know why I got off into that tangent, but it was just, just having certain things in my head going, oh, I could do it this way. And it's just like, no, just help me here.
You're not alone in that, because a lot of women, because of how they grew up with the marketing back in the 80s, back in this, that time frame of what was around, and the Weight Watchers and the things that you grew up trying to understand. It's no fault to I've talked to so many women about this. It's just, that's what was ingrained in your mind of, oh, I need to eat less and then maybe go over and do tons of exercise, and this is what's going to get me to succeed. So you're not alone in that respect at all.
Yeah. With regard to Weight Watchers, I gamed that system. I had 21 points, and on weigh-in day, so the where we had our meetings, it was in a strip mall, and then there happened to be a Dairy Queen in that strip mall. And so I wouldn't eat all day. I'd weigh in, and then I'd get my 21 points in a blizzard. And I was just like,
talk about that is gamification.
There you go. And that's the thing. It's with that, it was I could hit a number, and I could hit my, and that time it was points. So they tried to make it easy. I needed points, and then you had other check boxes, make sure you got your water and eat. I can't remember what the other ones were. But it's sure, I could hit that, or if you gave me a calorie count, I could hit the calorie count, but how much protein is in there? Or, what do the macros look like? I'm sure, I don't know what my macros were prior to actually tracking them, and I'm sure they were way off. I know they were way off. I know my protein was almost non-existent, unless I had a protein shake or a protein bar.
Yeah.
Which aren't the greatest either.
Nope. You probably heard that many times in the podcast.
Yeah, and I was there where, working for companies that made them.
That's crazy. Well, it's pretty cool to see your education and awareness now from what you've done in 6 short months too. And I know you had like some understanding about it before, but now applying it and putting it into action is what has been really the game changer for you.
Mhm.
You mentioned some of like, the weight and I don't think we talked about the inches lost. How many inches did you have lost?
5 total.
Okay.
So one around my waist, 3 my hips, and then 1 in my thighs. The interesting thing, though, I think my the muscles on the outside of your stomach, the
The what? Oh, the obliques.
obliques. I think my obliques are getting bigger because my I think I went up in like a half an inch or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know if
I
that's
haven't heard
possible,
that
but
one yet.
as long as it's I'm building my core that keeps me strong and away from the injury.
Absolutely. That's what will help your any back injuries that you have or that you've had and that will prevent them from the
Mhm.
future. What's some top achievements that you've had?
Like I said, if I wish I knew this, either number of episodes or hours of podcasts that I've listened to you. Um, yeah, I miss the warm weather because I would go on my walks and I would listen to a podcast or whatever, and I didn't go in any order, and it was just what's the topic that seemed intriguing for me. I think just the education and what I've learned, it's like, you know, at 60 plus years of age, it's like I'm still learning and I love it. So that and then mindset. We are now as a team reading, listening to Joe Dispenza's book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and and then your coach Candace, she's great, and I think I fell asleep during. I heard the recording. I did the recording, not the live when she did it with the team.
Yeah.
But it's the whole mindset and meditation and taking it kind of to the next level for me. It's the what more can I be doing or should I be doing for myself and for those around me, and how do I apply this? Um,
That's very
yeah,
inspiring.
yeah, and then too, it's the um, you know kind of branching out and getting that job in retail in fitness, fitness apparel and stuff like that. It's the kind of going outside of what I would typically do, but giving me the tools to do so. Whether it's talk about building your confidence. What are the things that you're telling yourself? What are the positive things you're telling yourself? What are the negative things you're telling yourself? If you're telling yourself negative things, how do you come over that? So it's the whole community, the calls and all that stuff. I think it's the wins that I've got as far as the education and the variety. I don't know that I really ever go through a podcast or a meeting or whatever and says, well, this isn't for me. Because when they talk about menopause, it's like, I went through it and I struggled through it, but I didn't really pay attention to it. I just kind of like, okay, this is life, go on. I still get frustrated with the hot flashes that come and go every once in a while. But it's like, what else can I do to kind of take control of me and my future? And it's like, at the end of the day, it's the how can I grow old gracefully?
That's beautiful. And I love that you're peeling back the onion now in this next level for you with understanding how you operate and how your brain works and you guys diving into Joe Dispenza and just like behaviors, actions, like thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, and discuss like that's a huge thing to dive into and to be open to wanting to even dive into because that can unleash how you go about the next 40 maybe 50 years of your life. You still have so much more time. One thing that I was super inspired by you that I would love for you to share too here is you took your why to the next level. And I just want you to share if you feel comfortable, like what was your overall goal? And then why was that your goal? Because we've talked about you. I know you've heard on the podcast. It's like people come and they're like, I just want to lose weight. I want to lose 5 to 10 pounds. Cool, but why? Because once we have the why, you're going to show up way differently as you have for the last 6 months because you've had energy from that why to pull you every single day. So, what was your why?
So, number one, I think there's a couple things. There was what's the why or what's your vision board? And I'm so terrible with creative and stuff like that. And I had on my to-do list forever, like I'm pointing to my calendar, my to-do list that changes every week. And it's what are my non-negotiables? And it was like, and then what do I need to do? It's like work on my why and that vision board. I'm like going, I finally told my coach, I said, and she wasn't asking for it. I was telling her I'm going to do it. But I'm like, I'm not going to cut all this. So I just said, coming from where I came in corporate America, I'm just going to write it down on paper and kind of do it as my plan. And then in one of your tools, there was a series of questions that helped me further peel back the why. And in market research, and I love that you do this, there's a lot of similarities to my career. It was we call it the 5 whys. So you ask why 5 times to really get into why someone needs to be doing or wants to be doing something. And so that's why I said, I can do this. I've done it my whole career. So do it, sit down and do it. So it was my overall goal, I said, is to have a beautiful physique that I have admired in strong athletes and dancers. Be a specimen of health and pursue a new career in fitness and nutrition, focusing on women's health at any age. And I think because it's so underrepresented. Why? Because I just want to see if I'm able to transform my body. Why do I want to achieve this goal? Is I always wanted to do this, but I've always had other priorities. And why is it important? And I had mentioned because I had osteopenia, and I hope I can reverse that bone loss. And then I've obviously seen friends and family grow old. My mom's 95, or 94, she'll be 95 this year. So it's like but how do I grow old gracefully and without, any, knock on wood, anything, that's going to come in its way. I was determined to do it. I said, at the time I was reflecting back on my back and that going out. And I just wanted I love the firepower, my why, the firepower. So it's to quench my curiosity to transform my body and to be possible, see what's possible through strength training and proper nutrition in order to live that long, happy life. I wanted to share my passion with others and pursue a career in this and showcase the transformation while advocating for women's health. So it's the kind of getting down to, if I can do it, anyone can do it, and how can I help? And that's kind of like it's you find my passion, and I think a lot of it was through, things learning about the hormones and the hormone balance and all that stuff. And we don't know about that. We don't talk a lot about that. And so many other issues. It's how can we help others? And I think this community, it's women empowering women. Mm-hmm. And we're all there cheering each other on. And I think it's just, I don't know, it's a godsend.
Oh, that means so much to hear those words. And I think it's super inspiring, your why, and very empowering, your why. And then even just being here and doing this interview with me, as we were talking earlier, it's like this is your opportunity for one person to hear your words and your message and your story and be positively impacted. And then now you're doing with your new career, every woman that walks through the door, you get to inspire them in ways, which is you're doing God's work right now. You know that. Like, it's pretty cool to hear your story. And how you've been in the field, even with corporate, and then you went on this journey yourself, and now you're just basically inspiring those that are maybe you're a leader in it, and you're having them follow you in that sense, or even just words in exchange can really inspire someone. So I think what you're doing is super cool, Beth, and you should be really proud of all of the accomplishments that you've made.
Thank you, and kudos to you and your team. And they say about it's the right time and right place. It was exactly for me. I was so ready to do something, and it was perfect for me.
Oh, that's awesome. For someone that is listening right now and they're unsure about taking the next step, or maybe they're feeling skeptical, as you had shared about what you were feeling earlier, right? What would you tell them about how Warrior Babe could impact their life?
Um, do the research. I mean, you have so much more now on the site. Still be that skeptic, but listen to the people, listen to the women that are talking about where they've come from. And I think something will click. It's the, is this the time? Is this the place? Is this for me? A lot of it is, and we haven't talked about this, but this is another thing coming from corporate, is trusting the process. It's just like, and what do you really mean by that? And I love that podcast, because it can be so, we used to call it like just fluffy, and the marketing term, it's like trust the process. And I'm like, oh, well, what's this going to get us? But it's the understanding that you have the experts there to support you all along the way. And you have the community to kind of, be there, lift you up, and you can lift others up too. But it's the, if you're looking for a sense of community, people that are doing this, you're not on your own, but your plan that you're receiving is totally customized. It is yours. It's individualized just for you. A lot of it is the, taking that next step, and sometimes it's a scary step. But you don't know until you do it. Mm-hmm. And then it's then getting in and jumping in with both feet.
As you did. You jumped in with both feet and just were like, give me what I need to do and I'm going to do it. And that's the beauty. That's why we also vet people at the beginning. Like, are you a good fit for us? And are we a good fit for you? Because, if it's not, and you come into the program and you're not doing the work, then who's that on?
Mm-hmm.
But you came
right.
in, you did the work. What would you say to someone that is thinking that maybe it's just like, or feels like it's like too late to start something new, whether it be like fitness or nutrition or even like a new passion?
I don't think there needs to be a timeline on anything. For me, I've always been curious about things and didn't want to be stagnant. I wanted to continue to learn. Even at 60, it's like the whole can't teach an old dog new tricks. Oh yeah, you can, and being open to learning more and knowing more. So I don't think it's ever too late. It's the, just do it. And I hate to say, to use a famous tagline, but it's just like, it's here. It's all laid out. It's easy. For me, it's easy and it's fun. I understand the women in the community that are still working and that have younger children and stuff like that. And that time, I understand. I've been there. But it is just carving out that little piece. And is there something else that I don't need to be doing? Or I could, do it at the same time. If I do have a Netflix series I'm watching, can I walk when I'm watching it? Can I ride my bike when I'm watching? But it's the carving the time out for yourself. It's like, there's no better time than the present to start.
Absolutely. And you even shared within your journey today and your story today that the proof of that transformation doesn't have an expiration date.
And I'm excited. It's like, what's to come.
I think that's awesome. What's so cool. I mean, you've had some amazing accomplishments in the 6 months, but I love that you're so open-minded to learning what, the next level looks like for you. And that is diving into learning more about how your mind or you operate, or, the stepping into more of the personal evolution growth sense, that there's always something to continue to keep learning.
Uh-huh.
I think you should be so proud of that mindset, because I know it's really hard to come by for a lot of women. And overall, you should be just entirely proud of your entire journey so far. And I want to say thank you for trusting in us and trusting in WarriorBabe when the app popped up and you did your research and it felt different. I'm happy that it came across as more like this is real and this is going to help you get to where you envisioned yourself in being, and you're well on your way. You still have a whole another half of a year to go. And some people, what you're accomplishing in a year takes people like 5, 10, 15 years to accomplish. So Yeah, thank you so much for just trusting in WarriorBabe. And for anybody that's listening right now, just know that Beth's entire journey, she stepped into a new phase of life and a commitment to herself. It's completely changed the way that she moves, eats, thinks. And now she's just stronger, not just physically, but also mentally. And if you're wondering if you guys can do the same, you 100% can. And the answer is yes. Check out WarriorBabe.com and just take that first step today. But Beth, thank you so much for being here and sharing your story. And I know it's going to positively impact just one person listening.
Great. Thank you so much, Nikki.